Oh, if you're gonna revisit your childhood, probably a good thing to have a sense of humor about it. Okay, folks, Patreon-sponsored review. Actually had to negotiate this a little. Originally, the request was to review Thundercats Ho, which was a sort of cobbled-together movie, which was a compilation of a bunch of Season 2 episodes of Thundercats. I ended up having a little bit of trouble securing those, and upon talking a little bit further with the person who commissioned it, they agreed to let me just deal with sort of the premiere episodes of Thundercats. And I'm not going to go through it beat for beat. And this is not really going to be a standard review. This is more a me taking off the rose-tinted glasses kind of experience. Because I grew up with Thundercats. Unlike when I reviewed the Transformers movie, and Transformers was something that I didn't watch growing up, so I had no investment and was pretty much coming in too cold. I mean, I knew the general premise of Transformers, but, it wasn't something I'd ever watch. Thundercats, on the other hand, was basically one of 3 cartoons that I was really into when I was young. Those being Thundercats, He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, and The Real Ghostbusters. Now, The Real Ghostbusters I actually have the complete set of, and episode by episode quality can vary wildly, but I was really delighted to go back and watch that and realize that the episodes that I remember as being good are really good still. I have kind of deliberately avoided going back and revisiting He-Man and the Masters of the Universe because the few times I've caught like little snippets, I'm like, wow, I do not remember it looking that much like crap. And my memories of Thundercats have been pretty good, but I haven't had occasion to go back and see it before this. Here's the thing that I'll say. Memory is a really funny thing because my memory of how this show looked in terms of the sophistication of the animation, the detail of the drawing, the use of colors and shade and effects and things like that. It's basically like my mind took the visual quality that's in the opening credits and the theme, and projected that out and sort of put it like an Instagram filter over my memories of the actual episodes. So in my mind and in my memory, the in-episode animation was as good as that opening sequence. It's not. So, there's thing one. I mean, I've still got a little bit of an affection for the quality of this animation because it's Rankin Bass, and I can identify things about Rankin Bass animation that I just like. And it's funny, as much as I love Rankin Bass, I never watched their Christmas stuff. Not growing up, anyway. I've seen most of it now. But, I grew up on The Hobbit, and their, the one Christmas thing of theirs that I did grow up on was 'Twas the Night Before Christmas with the mice, and The Last Unicorn. And there, I can catch bits of that kind of style and approach to animation here. And a lot of it's in the designs. There's a very distinct mouth movement to a Rankin Bass 2D animation. But, boy, the animation's rough at points. Which, I knew was going to happen going in because, time and nostalgia have given it a much glossier look in my mind than it ever had. But I don't want to dwell too much on the visuals because I do think they're still pretty good for the time. It's pretty standard for the time, and I think it's on par, and honestly in the sort of upper range of animation of things like the shows I already mentioned, or Transformers, or G.I. Joe. Thundercats conceptually, it's pulling from a lot of stuff, all over the place, especially going back and seeing the first few episodes and really solidifying how many things it's pulling its influences from. So, broadly speaking, in terms of general tone, it's taking the most obvious inspiration from He-Man, because it is doing that sort of similar combining of very fantastical elements with sci-fi elements. So you have people who will cast spells in the same show as, they have laser guns. So that kind of amalgamation feels very borrowed from He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. So there's that. But there's right off the bat, there's a Superman comparison, because the Thundercats watch their home planet of Thundera explode, and then it becomes for a hot second a weird Star Wars thing as a bunch of other ships that are in their fleet get blown up by the mutants. And there's a lot of yanked stuff that I can see the stitches of how this thing was Frankenstein together. And like so many other action and action figure, more specifically, focused shows of the time, you can see how much the intent of what gets to be a toy was put into this. The Thunder Tank gets used fairly frequently because that was a toy that you could get for them. You got to be sure you show off every character wielding whatever their weapon is. That's for both hero and villain, so that you can sell within the context of the show how cool these guys would be to play with as action figures. I think I've still got some Thundercats somewhere. As I grew up, I sold off a lot of my stuff in yard sales. I think I've still got a little bit though. I should dig that up one of these days. In any case, I think the thing that was the biggest surprise for me going back and rewatching this, the voice acting is terrible. Really bad. And almost across the board. There's a couple of performances that I would call good, a few that are fine, but some of the key ones are really, really bad. The main thing is they're the only of the hero characters. So the hero characters being the Thundercats, being Lion-O, Panthro, Tigra, Cheetara, Wily Kit, Wily Cat. You can count Jaga, I suppose, if you want to, and Snarf. The only performance out of those that I would call genuinely good is Panthro, because he's the only one who feels like he has any personality at all.
And you built it just from the junk you scrounged from the spaceship?
Salvaged. From equipment I salvaged from the ship.
The rest of them, I think the biggest offender being Tigra, he's I was going to say he's like the Cyclops of this group, but that's an insult to Cyclops. That's how wooden and stiff this guy is.
In the meantime, you are our guest. Our home is open to you.
And then Lion-O is similar, and I had forgotten that part of the conceit with Lion-O is that he's actually much younger than he looks like. That the trip to Third Earth, which, complete random sidebar, Mum-Ra refers to it as having once been called First Earth, and literally calls things Egyptian at one point. Does it ever get established, in the comics or other material, that this is actually, was at some point the Earth we know? It was also the third planet out on the solar system that they landed in. I'm just saying. Anyways, the trip, it said, they have to kind of go into sort of a stasis thing, and he ages physically but not mentally while he's in there. He comes out, he's full grown. First of all, they never actually address why it happened to him, but not to Wily Kit and Wily Cat. They stay young. That never actually gets addressed. And my memory is that it doesn't come up for very long how young Lion-O actually is. I get that they wanted him to be the inexperienced leader without actually having a kid lead them, I guess. But it's a conceit that I don't think the show, well, even in these episodes, it doesn't do much with. It's just kind of there. But God, coming back to the voice acting, I really did not appreciate how irritating Snarf is.
I don't trust him.
Snarf, why'd you say that? You don't even know him.
Well, just the Snarf's intuition, that's all.
Like, and I don't know what it was about these kinds of cartoons that felt the need to have this kind of character, because Snarf is to Orko, is to Slimer from the real Ghostbusters. Like, these kinds of weird, sidekicky, annoying voiced, almost never actually helpful, supposedly funny characters were in a lot of children's media. And to be fair, as a kid, I actually liked all three of these characters. I liked Orko, I liked Slimer, I liked Snarf. I think I liked Snarf probably the least of those three, but like, I did like these characters, but man, part of it's the voice and just it sounds awful. It is a grating voice, but also the personality that goes with it. He is whiny as heck. He's kind of, you know what he's kind of got? He's kind of got C-3PO's personality in this whiny, nasally voice. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that gets old real quick. The villains are only slightly better. Mum-Ra has a very memorable voice, but it's a little too kind of gargly for me in a way that kind of kills intonation and just kind of muddles it.
You are now stranded on Third Earth, and without Mum-Ra, you perish.
And I think Slythe probably has the best vocal performance of the villains. Monkey and Jackalman are fine. They get the job done. Although, I bring up them, there's some bizarre plot holes in this. in this thing. So, everybody's after the Eye of Thundera, which is in the Sword of Omens. We don't know why. Like, it's just kind of presumed that, like, Mum-Ra wants its power. We don't really know why the mutants want it. And it's actually established, I forgot how early it was established. It's established by episode 5 or 6 that the Eye of Thundera and the Sword of Omens cannot be used for evil purposes. Which basically means there's literally nothing that Mum-Ra can do with the thing if he ever got his hands on it. So what's he doing? And with the mutants, like, I could possibly buy a lower level motivation. Like, they just want to, I don't know, power a weapon with it, sell it, I don't know. But the weird thing here is that we open with the mutants hunting them down in space, and then there's the multi-year, like the 10-year trip where Jaga, dies getting them there, and Lion-O grows up in stasis, and they land on Third Earth, and then the mutants show up. The mutants tracked them for 10 years? Really? If you're going to show that level of commitment, I think I need a slightly stronger motivation on this. Also, funny thing with the mutants is, initially there's a lot of them. Like, there's a lot of reptilians, a lot of the simian characters, a lot of the Jackalmen. But after the first episode, we only really see one of each. There was like a vague reference I saw somewhere to there being more of them, but like, it just becomes one of each. And I don't know if we're supposed to believe that there are other mutants that are like under the command of each one of these three types, or if they're just gone. Because we really never see them again. And then oh boy. Then there's the Robert Burbles. Oh, if C-3PO mated with an Ewok, you'd get these things. Wow. I don't... Like, that was a toy... Those are weird to me, because that's a toy I don't even remember seeing. I'm like... Because normally the answer for why is that there is, oh, because it's a toy. I don't remember ever seeing those. That was a weird one. And I'm making fun of this, but like these are the sorts of things that I either didn't realize, didn't appreciate, didn't notice when I was a kid, or just had forgotten about. And so that's just kind of where my head's at, revisiting this thing. There is some stuff that's still really good, though. First of all, I like the design. I like the design of most of the characters, the villains, the monsters. It's pretty good. Some of the one-off characters that only show up for one episode, those are a little more lazy. But the main core group, well-designed across the board, I think. As far as the heroes go, I always like the look of Cheetara the best. But like I said, Panthro is really the only one with much of a personality. And overall, their costumes are pretty good once they have them on. Because another thing I'd forgotten in the very first episode, they're naked. They're just walking around naked. Yeah, but there's also a seam, like where the thigh meets the hip, and that's really weird to me because that's like the seam where the leg would bend on an action figure. So I don't even know. Like that was so weird. Like I feel like I'm saying it's so weird a lot, and it's a weird show. It really is. But anyways. I like the designs. I love the transformation of Mum-Ra. I love the music. Now, obviously, I say the music, and a lot of people are going to think of the theme music. Which is very good. But honestly, the incidental music used in episode is pretty good as well. Just the sort of danger kind of music that kicks in, or the sort of mysterious synthy thing when Lino holds up the Sword of Omens and does the sight beyond sight thing. That's a cool little bit of music. It's across the board. It's a pretty good soundtrack to this. Obviously, you watch these episodes back to back, and you quickly realize, oh, they have like 5 music tracks that they just drop in at appropriate places. But they're well-made music tracks, especially for this kind of thing. So I like those a lot. And going back to this as an adult, I think it does kind of gain a little bit of an MST3K thing, because the line readings are so stiff. And like, oh my god, Cheetara, with some of her line readings, she got this warble in her voice, like out of nowhere, like Thundera. Did you just age like by 40 years in the course of that sentence? What the heck was that? So there's things like that that go on with the vocal performances, and then there's just all the story oddities, like the way that characters react just to Lino sends up a signal, and like villains are going, oh! It's like, effectively all I did was turn on a skylight. Yes, that means more of them are coming, but like, really? Or Mum-Ra, like I completely misremembered Mum-Ra's reaction to his reflection, which is how he gets defeated the very first time. And like, it's a cool concept, but like the visually, it's not what I remember it being, and it's way weirder and way wonkier than I remember being. And like, there's a unicorn that gives Lino a ring? Why would a unicorn have a ring? And why does Cheetara on her morning run just like stop running and pass out? Did she normally, like on a daily basis, run so hard that she passes out? There's some of the really weird occupants of Third Earth. Like, to my memory, like it was mostly the Thundercats running into the Mutants and Mum-Ra, and then later the Lunatics. But like, there's weird pirates and other odd native characters that are just kind of here and hanging around. And this show, honestly, is way weirder than I remember it being. And if you don't mind laughing at something you used to take seriously, yeah, I did have fun revisiting this. It is ridiculous, though. Thundercats! At the very least, the opening sort of salvo of the first season. Because I'm not in a position to say what did or didn't change later on. And again, my memories of some of the later episodes, Maybe they're just as rose-tinted as my memories of these were. Maybe the show actually did get better as it went along. I don't know. Maybe someday I'll find out. But for now, Thundercats! What do you think about it? What is your memory of it? When was the last time you saw it? Like, seriously. Whatever your thoughts are, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. A whole bunch of stuff to do. Buttons, links, and Patreon, and social media, and my book, and P.O. Box, blah, 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 blah. That's all down in the description. Click on the links, because they'll take you places, or you also don't have to. Because at the end of the day, folks, you're the council. I'm just running the meetings. And until next time, this council is adjourned.